The shocking truth about your body, soul, and spirit revealed at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, and the world felt alive in a way that twisted reality. Shadows danced in the corners of rooms, whispering secrets that sent chills down spines. The air grew thick, charged with something electric and unseen, as if an invitation hung in the stillness, daring anyone brave enough to discover the outrageous truth hidden in the darkness. It was at this hour that legends burst into life, the kind of stories that made your skin crawl and your heart race. Here, at 3 a.m., faith and fear intertwined, and every creak of the floor almost spoke. As Amelia stepped onto the worn floor of her tiny apartment, an odd sensation washed over her, prickling her skin like static electricity. It wasn't just her imagination, she could feel a pulse, a heartbeat, as if the house itself were alive. She glanced at the mirror, and her own reflection stared back, but something was off. Her eyes glowed an eerie shade, a reflection of the secrets swirling in the midnight air. "This can't be right," she whispered, her voice trembling as her chest tightened. Outside, the streetlights flickered, casting shadows that slithered down the pavement like dark serpents, eager to snatch any wanderer from safety. The world seemed to hold its breath. Rumors buzzed around town about unusual things happening at this hour, tales of bodies stirring when they shouldn't, and of spirits whispering their truths to the lucky or cursed few who dared listen. With her heart thundering, Amelia felt the pull to step outside, to embrace the madness lurking just beyond her door. But what awaited her outside? Suddenly, the sound of chanting echoed in the distance, a rhythmic call that sent a shiver down her spine. She felt drawn to it, almost against her will. The voices grew louder, a symphony of eerie melodies weaving through the silence. "What the hell is happening?" she muttered, her curiosity piqued and her fear simmering. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Amelia took a deep breath and flung open the door. The night air enveloped her like a shroud, heavy with intrigue. The chanting grew more intense, pulling her forward as the haunting call danced around her. Bizarre shapes swirled within the shadows ahead, beckoning her closer. Was this a dream, or was she stepping into a fate written in the hidden chaos of the universe? One step after another, she moved beyond the threshold, a sense of dread creeping in, tinged with a thrill she could hardly contain. What awaited her in the depths of night? Secrets? Horror? Perhaps the truth about her own very being, body, soul, and spirit waiting beneath the weight of the moon? The chanting crescendoed, wrapping around Amelia like a tightening noose. She felt both terrified and exhilarated. With every step she took, her surroundings felt alive, the air trembling with secrets begging to be uncovered. The moon hung high, its light casting an eerie glow on a gathering of figures in the distance, their silhouettes obscured by the fog creeping along the ground. Why am I doing this? Panic stirred in her chest, but the bizarre allure of the scene held her captive. Around her, the neighborhood seemed abandoned, yet the chanting pulsated, a dark heart beating on the outskirts of reality. Was she the only one drawn to this? As she moved closer, the figures became clearer, their voices resonating together in a hypnotic rhythm filled with both joy and sorrow. The atmosphere felt heavy, electric, a chilling contradiction that raised the hair on her arms. What are they doing? She whispered, straining to see. A woman with long white hair stood at the front, her palms raised to the night sky. Join us, she called out, her voice slicing through the thrumming air. It was a command, a beckoning wrapped in warmth that tugged at something deep within Amelia. She glanced back toward her apartment, the safe cocoon of her life now far behind. But the pull was irresistible. Suddenly, the sound of breaking glass echoed through the stillness, jolting her heart. Fear gripped her as she spun around. A pair of bright eyes glared from the shadows. Who else was out here? Amelia. A familiar voice rasped. It was James, her childhood friend. His clothes were in disarray, and sweat glistened on his brow. We need to leave. This is not what you think. It's dangerous. His urgent tone sent a jolt of fear through her, but the temptation of the unknown was overpowering. What's dangerous? What are they doing? Whatever's happening here, it's not just a group sharing stories or finding peace, he stammered. People disappear at night, especially near gatherings like this. The stories are true. You can't trust them. But the woman's inviting voice cut through their conversation. No need to fear. Come forth and learn the truth of your existence. Amelia hesitated, torn between the life James represented and the magnetic allure of the gathering. I have to know, she breathed, her heart racing. Before she could reconsider, James lunged toward her, gripping her arm tightly. You don't understand. They're beckoning you for a reason. You're not like the others. His eyes widened in desperation. You don't know what you might unleash. Suddenly, a sharp scream erupted from the crowd, followed by a frenzied gasp that shattered Amelia's thoughts. The air crackled violently, and the chanting shifted to a fever pitch. You have to leave now, James urged, panic lacing his voice. But Amelia stood frozen, caught in a moment where decisions felt eternal. One look back at the gathering showed her figures in a wild dance now, limbs flailing, shadows stretching in unnatural ways as if they were living nightmares breaking free. She took a sharp breath, heart-pounding. In that moment, a sharp sparkle shot across the sky, marking the arrival of something utterly otherworldly. Goosebumps erupted along her skin. A realization rushed over her like a wave. The very fabric of her life was about to unravel. Then, she felt a pulse beneath the earth, a connection to something vast and ancient, calling out to her, resonating with her very core. I have to know, she murmured, stepping closer to the chaotic dance. The next moment sent ripples through her reality, as the figures turned, their eyes locking onto her with an intensity that overwhelmed her senses. And that was when she understood what she thought she was stepping into was far more than she had ever anticipated. Amelia's heart raced as she faced the unknown. What is this truth? She whispered, feeling the world shift around her. A figure stepped forward, a shadowed hand extended. Only you can uncover it. What lay ahead? Would she embrace the darkness, or would she turn back? Amelia felt the heat radiating from the figures closing in on her, their eyes glimmering with an intensity that curdled her blood. It was as if each gaze pierced right through her skin, unearthing every fear she ever buried. James's grip on her arm tightened, but she didn't budge. The allure was too strong, a force pulling her deeper into the swirling vortex of truth and darkness. Amelia! Please! James's voice wavered, desperation clawing at the edges. An electric charge buzzed in the air, swirling around her earlobes and whispering promises that only she could hear. We need to leave. But Amelia didn't want to leave. She wanted to step forward, to plunge into the depths of whatever this was. It was freedom and terror wrapped in one. The heavy thrum of the crowd beckoned like a siren's call, drowning out the rational part of her mind that screamed for escape. Join us. The white-haired woman's voice sliced through the tension once more, like a sharp knife, impeccable and precise. She beckoned Amelia with an outstretched hand that oozed allure, a darkness that seemed to ripple and pulse with every beat of the crowd's chant. You were meant for this moment. You possess the power to unfold the secrets of existence. The wind picked up, swirling strands of her hair across her face. For a moment, the shadows seemed to dance in a rhythm that resonated with her very core. But too quickly did that moment of ecstasy fade, replaced by the creeping fingers of dread curling around her heart. What do you know about me? She finally found the courage to yell, her voice trembling against the escalating chaos. What do you want? The crowd paused, chanting subsiding into a hushed murmur. Eyes of fury and longing suddenly turned to her, like a vast sea shifting with the tide. The woman stepped closer, her eyes glowing like embers against a smoldering fire. Everything and nothing. You are the key, Amelia. Unlock your potential. James's eyes widened. Don't listen to her, he shouted. Panic morphed into fury as he pulled at her arm once more. These aren't people. They're monsters in disguise. But as she fought James's grasp, another scream erupted from deep within the gathering, echoing in jagged notes that clawed at Amelia's mind. It reverberated through the night, cold and visceral, sending a jolt of terror through her heart. Chosen, the chant began anew, weaving around her, vibrating everything. You are chosen. You must bleed for us. You must release us. The crowd surged forward in a frenzy, and from the chaos, glowing symbols danced along the ground like fireflies, lighting up faces that twisted with rapture. Each step they took brought forth screams of agony and elation that intertwined into a miasma of emotion. Amelia turned to James, her chest tight, anxiety flooding her senses. What do they mean? What do I have to do? His face paled, but then something flickered in his eyes. Hope? Fear? You don't need to do anything. Just come away with me. But the truth hung in the air like a shimmering thread, thick and heavy. She could feel it wrapping around her soul, coaxing her. What if I can help them? James's grip faltered as he let out a ragged breath. This isn't helping. You'll only lose yourself. The moonlight caught Amelia's face, and in that moment, she was sure of one thing: she was no longer just a bystander. With the decision weighing down on her, she saw the path diverge into to embrace this madness or flee back to the safety of her old life. Then, just as the chanting crescendoed once more, the ground beneath her trembled. A deep rumble echoed, and the shadows grew darker. You have to choose now. The woman cried, voice rising above the thrumming chaos. Will you unlock the gate? The figures all turned to her, their faces entwined in shadows, waiting with bated breath. Each heart joined in a collective thud, the air thick with anticipation. Will you be our savior, or their prisoner? Amelia gasped, caught in a whirlpool of emotion, her heart hammering in her chest. Would she step forward into the abyss, or would she retreat and leave it all? Behind, both options loomed large, and somewhere, deep within, she felt the answer lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike. As she shifted, her breath caught. What happens if I choose? The figures stood still, murmuring amongst themselves, shadows flickering like candlelight. She had to make a choice. And with darkness creeping ever closer, she could feel her life teetering on the brink. What would that choice reveal? Would stepping forward open the door she never knew existed, or unleash horrors that could consume her entirely? The earth trembled beneath her feet, and an unsettling rumble echoed in her ears. The crowd, a throng of shadows and whispers, loomed ever closer, their breaths creating a warm, suffocating fog that enveloped her. Amelia's heart raced as the tension in the air thickened, wrapping around her like a shroud. She was acutely aware of James beside her, his fingertips digging into her skin as if trying to anchor her back to reality. Amelia, please, don't do this. His voice was barely a whisper amidst the deafening roar of the crowd. Desperation twisted his features, making him look almost like a lost child in a storm. But the more he pleaded, the more the pull from the shadows seemed to amplify, wrapping her mind in a haze of confusion and dread. Who are you? She called out, her voice barely above a whisper, as she sought clarity in the chaos. The white-haired woman's eyes glinted with predatory delight, and a smile curved her lips, revealing teeth too sharp, too perfect. We are the Seekers, the woman said, her voice flowing like honey dipped in venom. We are those who have traveled the vast plains of knowledge and have tasted the fruits of forbidden truth. You hold the key, dear Amelia, to our liberation. James shook his head, sweat beading on his brow. No. You can't trust them. Freedom? Liberation? It sounds like a trap. But as he looked into her eyes, she saw the flicker of fear, the kind that had roots deep in his past. The chanting swelled around them, rising like a tide. Unlock the gate. Unlock the gate. The words echoed like thunder, pushing against her consciousness, drowning her in a wave of impending destiny. Amelia's heart raced. Unlock the gate. The phrase danced tantalizingly before her, suggesting unimaginable power, knowledge, something beyond her wildest dreams. Yet with that promise came a suffocating weight. Would she truly unlock something? Or was it merely a lure designed to consume her whole? At that moment, the ground split open, fissures running like veins across the earth. A pulsating light spilled from the cracks, illuminating the faces of those around her, showing their expressions rapture mixed with desperation. Like moths, they were drawn to the flame, and Amelia could feel the magnetism pulling her towards it. Amelia, no. James' voice broke through the din, full of an intensity that stirred a flicker of doubt in her heart. Helpless against the rising tide, his words forced her to confront the darkness swirling in her mind. What lay behind the gate? What do you want from me? She shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos with surprising clarity. The woman stepped even closer, the light between them flickering with secrets and mystery. Only what you are meant to give. Your essence, your blood, the thread that binds our worlds. Only you can bridge the chasm between light and shadow, between knowledge and ignorance. But suddenly, fear clawed at her throat. The idea of giving her blood, her very essence, sent icy tendrils of dread creeping through her veins. What if I say no? The laughter that erupted from the crowd sent shivers racing down her spine. Then you remain shackled to your mundane existence, a prisoner of ignorance and fear. As the weight of their gazes bore down on her, Amelia's mind raced. What did she truly aspire to? The power, the knowledge, or perhaps the bond with something greater? The fluttering hope morphed into something dark, a hunger for power that made her stomach twist. Costing her this uncertainty was the growing chasm beneath her, a vortex that promised enlightenment wrapped in shadow. Just as she took a shaky step forward, ready to breach the threshold of decision, the earth shuddered violently, fracturing underneath. The screams of the gathered figures morphed into savage roars, sinister delight combined with savage wrath. Make your choice, Amelia. The white-haired woman called, her voice reverberating with almost hypnotic urgency. Will you be the key? A bolt of lightning illuminated the night sky, casting wicked shadows that twisted and writhed. The reality around her felt about to dissolve. What if she chose wrong? What would be left of her if she turned her back? In that chaos-filled moment, everything hung in the balance. The entire universe seemed to quiver with the weight of her decision. With trembling hands, Amelia faced the light emanating from the crack in the ground. Was this the moment everything changed? Would stepping forward unlock her potential, or open gates to unspeakable horrors? Her soul felt pinned between these unfolding destinies, begging for release. And yet, even as shadows loomed large, the light pulsed with darkness that shouted louder than her screams of doubt. What happens if I choose? Dread coiled painfully in her gut, the question begging for answers as she stood on the precipice of despair. Would she gain knowledge, or lose herself in the process? The crowd leaned closer. What truth awaited her on this precipice? In the swirling chaos, Amelia felt time stretch and fracture, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in her ears. The crowd's chants morphed into a primal roar, fueling the intensity of uncertainty that gripped her. She could almost feel the weight of the gaze from every shadowy figure, scrutinizing her, waiting for her to decide their fate and her own. Amelia! James shouted, his voice breaking through the tumult like a lifeline. Listen to me. Don't let them manipulate you. You're more than a key. You have a choice. But what did that choice even mean? As her eyes danced back to the brilliant light spilling from the earth's cracks, a fierce pull surged through her veins, begging her to step closer and venture into the unknown. It gleamed like a promise, whispering promises of power, knowledge, control. Yet the darkness too had its allure. It whispered secrets, half-formed truths that sent chills skittering across her nerves. The white-haired woman's expression intensified, her smile widening, revealing more of those predatory teeth. The longer you wait, the stronger the shadows grow, she sang, sweet yet sinister. You must decide, Amelia. Embrace your destiny or watch as the darkness consumes you. With a deep inhale, Amelia felt her lungs tighten, a lump forming in her throat. What if she chose wrong? Would the shadows she feared swallow her whole? Doubt clawed at her insides, but was it stronger than the curiosity of what lay beyond the gate? Amelia, please, James urged, his grip gentle yet firm on her arm. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. The temptation surged again, pulling at the corners of her mind. Memories of powerless days, longing to be more than ordinary. Was this the moment that could change everything? Or would embracing the light entwine her forever with the darkness? The ground erupted again, a surge of energy exploded upwards, panels of light intersecting with shadows like a broken mirror. Amelia felt the air crackle, the rupture in the earth pulsating beneath her, the rhythm echoing within her bones. It was intoxicating, the sweet siren song of incomprehensible truths. Unlock the gate. The crowd cried, their voices rising to a fever pitch, urging her to take that final step. Amelia's breathing became erratic, caught between fear and exhilaration. She sought James' eyes, the warmth of familiarity, desperate for guidance. Yet even as their eyes locked, she sensed an unspoken acknowledgement between them of the depths of the choice she stood on the edge of. What would she be giving up if she chose light? Her very soul? Who would she become? I need to know. She cried suddenly, her voice piercing through the chaos. What awaits me on the other side? The white-haired woman stepped closer, her voice low and enticing. Wisdom that surpasses your understanding. Powers to forge your path. But only if you dare to embrace the shadows within. Amelia shuddered, a wave of uncertainty crashing against the pull of reckless determination. The air felt heavy, suffocating, as though the very essence of the universe held her in suspension, waiting for her to tip the scales. With every heartbeat, the spectrum of choices flared around her, a kaleidoscope of possibilities, dark and bright entwined. Each second felt like eternity. She was drowning in hopes, fears, anger, emotions swirling in her chest, an explosion of energy seeking release. Suddenly, the earth convulsed beneath her feet, sending shockwaves through her bones. Fear gripped her throat as she stumbled forward, the light beckoning like a lighthouse in a storm. Was it the way to salvation, or a descent into madness? Amelia! No! James cried, his voice rising in horror as she inched closer, the edge of the crack looming nearer, radiating with an undeniable pull. The light intensified, blinding her senses, wrapping her in a cocoon of warmth and danger. Just as she felt she would fall into its embrace, a terrible scream pierced the night. A figure lurched from the shadows, emerging with a look of sheer terror. Stop her! It rasped, eyes wide with fear. She mustn't unlock the gate. Amelia froze, her heart pounding furiously as she turned to face the stranger. Something primal gripped her as she sensed that this was only the beginning of the chaos poised to unravel in her life. What lay ahead sat heavily on her shoulders, the relentless whispers growing louder. But would the truth the figure spoke rescue her from her impending fate or shatter everything she believed in? In the unseen balance of power teetering above her head, Amelia held the world and her soul in the palm of her trembling hand. What terrifying truth awaited her in the light? The stranger's eyes darted from Amelia to the crowd, panic radiating off him like heat. You don't understand. He gasped, breathless, his voice cracking like a twig. You can't let them trick you into unlocking the gate. It's not what you think. Amelia's stomach twisted, the urgency in his tone grasping at her insides. Every instinct screamed that he knew something crucial, something she needed to comprehend. What do you mean? She demanded, the trembling of her hands betraying her calm exterior. What is so dangerous about it? He hesitated, his gaze flicking back to the white-haired woman, who smiled with the eerie confidence of a predator sensing her prey as fear. They want to use you, he said finally, his voice steadier now but laced with a tone of desperation. To unleash chaos. It's not just power that lies on the other side, it's devastation. A shudder ran through Amelia. The wall of sound from the crowd faded for a moment, replaced by the heavy weight of his words sinking in. Another wave of energy crashed around her, vibrant and electric, urging her forward while the stranger's warning echoed ominously in her mind. But what if I refuse? Panic etched her voice, desperate for an escape that felt just out of reach. They will come for you, he replied, his face pale and drawn. They've been waiting, and if you turn your back on them, his voice trailed off, but the message was clear, there won't be a safe option. Don't listen to him. The white-haired woman called, her enchanting voice slicing through the tension. He knows nothing of what awaits you. I'm offering you a gift, Amelia. Power beyond measure. You were meant for this. Amelia found herself stuck, caught between two competing realities. The crowd's fever-pitched chant flooded her ears again, spurring her instincts to choose. Amelia! Unlock the gate! They were hungry, pressing against her, driven by desire and desperation. What was it they wanted? Her heart raced as she flicked her gaze between the woman and the stranger, torn in every direction. But what if I choose differently? A flicker of hope sparked in her mind. What happens if I resist? Then the shadows claim you, the white-haired woman hissed, the glow boiling into rage mingled with seduction. And chaos reigns. Don't you see? It's now or never. Sweat beaded on Amelia's forehead, her mind racing. Heart racing. The air shimmered, charged with an energy that felt alive. It knew her fears, her desires, the very essence of who she was. She felt dizzy, ensnared in a web of emotions that spun tighter with every passing second. The weight of the decision loomed over her like a dark storm cloud, suffocating any chance of clarity. Look in your heart, Amelia. James's voice sliced through the chaos again, filled with an urgency that clutched at her heart. You know what they really are. Don't let them make the choice for you. The tension snapped, and Amelia gasped as a decision crystallized in her mind. The thought surged with electric clarity, a sudden anchor amidst the chaos. The shadows might be terrifying, but surrendering to light without knowing the cost felt even more monstrous. What if I choose to defy you all? She declared, her voice ringing out, clear and fierce. What if I carve my own path? The stranger stiffened, eyes widening. Amelia, please. Before he could finish, the ground shook violently, the light throbbing with rage, and the crowd screamed as chaos erupted. The white-haired woman's expression twisted with fury, revealing a dark side she had carefully masked. You will regret this. As everything swirled around her, Amelia felt the pull of immense energy building once again. It surged through her, offering both danger and the promise of independence. The words of the stranger lingered in her ears. They will come for you. Fear wrapped its fingers tight around her heart. She had made a choice, but what would become of her and those she loved? With shadows poised to unleash hell, her answer waited in the clawing darkness, but now, with everything on the line, would she find a way to defeat the oncoming storm? Or become engulfed in a nightmare of her own making? The chaos was immediate and overwhelming. The ground trembled beneath Amelia's feet, reverberating the shock of her defiance. Gasps echoed in the crowd, their faces contorted in fear as the white-haired woman's fury ignited. She seemed to grow taller, her silver hair swirling like a storm, the air thickening with an oppressive force that pressed down on Amelia's chest. Amelia! James's voice broke through the roar, his eyes wide with a mix of concern and resolve. You need to. A deafening crack split the air. The vibrant light surrounding the gate flickered and twisted erratically, like a living thing in pain. The crowd surged forward, their desperate cries rising into a unified howl, demanding that she conform. Shadows flickered along the edges of their forms. They were no longer just people. Amelia felt the allure of their fervor, almost like a drug, intoxicating and dark. Forcing herself to concentrate, she took a deep breath, filled with determination. I won't give in, she shouted, her voice cutting through the madness. She locked eyes with the stranger, who was still rooted in place, horror reflected in his expression. You need to harness this power, Amelia. Don't let it consume you, he shouted, warning and begging all at once. The white-haired woman stepped forward, her smile now a dark crescent moon. You have no idea what you've just unleashed, dear girl. You think you can defy what has been written? You are part of this just as much as they are. Whispers swept through the crowd, doubt tainting the air. What does she mean? The words fluttered like startled birds, chirping of betrayal and uncertainty. Amelia felt their eyes on her, the weight of expectation heavy as stones. Gathering herself, Amelia reached deep within, grasping at that flicker of power igniting inside her. It felt raw and untamed, a fire begging for release. She remembered who she was beneath all of this, a person with dreams, fears, and the strength to forge her own destiny. I choose my own path, she shouted again, this time louder, with conviction that sliced through the energy swirling around her. The white-haired woman recoiled as if struck. Foolish girl! She screamed, her voice a shriek that cut through the frenzy. You will see. This is not just a gate, it is a threshold between worlds. Your refusal marks you now. Suddenly, the ground cracked and the air exploded with sound. An ominous noise like thunder rolled around them, and from the gate, shadows spilled forth like heavy ink, creeping into the crowd. Panicked screams erupted as people stumbled back, trying to escape the dark tendrils clawing towards them. Amelia, run! James shouted, eyes blazing with urgency. But she felt rooted to the spot, caught in a tug-of-war between the ominous gloom and the incandescent power thrumming in her veins. Before she could react, the shadows coiled around her legs, cold as ice and drawing her toward the gate. "Embrace it!" the white-haired woman taunted, a sinister grin splitting her face. "Let the shadows consume you." Heart racing, Amelia fought against the pull. That voice, the strangeress pleading, echoed in the back of her mind. "Defy them, Amelia. Don't let them take you." With a roar, she summoned every ounce of willpower, pushing back against the dark. Her hands crackled with energy, bright and blinding light against shadow. But doubt gnawed at her. What would happen if she failed? What if this power consumed her like it had those before her? Before she could wrestle with the uncertainty, an abrupt silence fell. The shadows halted, frozen mid-attack, as if time had ceased. A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked in mystery, its intentions hidden. "Is she strong enough?" a voice whispered, oddly familiar yet echoed with a chilling detachment. Amelia's heart hammered. The question hung heavy in the air, as threaded with uncertainty as the shadows themselves. Could she truly harness this power? Was it freedom she sought, or was she nearing her own doom? As the mysterious figure stepped closer, Amelia braced herself for revelations that might either save her or condemn her to the darkness. But would the truth set her free or drag her down into an even deeper abyss? The figure stepped fully into the flickering light, revealing a face Amelia recognized instantly. It was the stranger from moments before, his features now clearer. His eyes were dark pools, swirling with secrets and longing, and a sense of urgency. "Amelia," he said, voice steady despite the chaos around them. "You have to trust yourself." Her heart pounded loud enough to drown out the chaos, and she wrestled with disbelief. "You? Why do you know my name?" Her voice trembled, battling confusion and fear. "Because, Amelia, we're connected," he replied, urgency lacing his every word. "I am part of this too, more than you can imagine. But you're the key. You must remember." The shadows flickered, curling like smoke around her ankles. They pulsed, waiting, as if the very air thickened with tension. With every heartbeat, Amelia felt the weight of expectation from the crowd pressing down. Were they watching for her to fail, or did they wish for her to free them? "Remember what?" Amelia shot back, frustration creeping into her voice. She wanted answers, not riddles. "What is this power? What do I need to do?" The man stepped nearer, and with an outstretched hand, he lifted her chin gently. "This only works if you believe in yourself." The shadows crave despair, they thrive on doubt. Fight it. You can wield the light and dark. You are not just a pawn in their game. In that moment, the truth of his words hit her like a slap. She wasn't merely standing at a crossroads, she was at the center of a battle for the very essence of her being. The shadows lurked, but inside, light flared, wild and unexpected. The memories and dreams she held close roared back to life, filling her with a fierce determination. "I will not be consumed," she shouted, feeling that spark as heat radiated in her hands. The shadows recoiled, hissing like disturbed serpents. The white-haired woman, her demeanor shifting to rage, raised her arms, summoning the dark tendrils. "You think you can defy the inevitable? You're too late." Her voice dripped with malice. "Nobody is too late," the stranger interjected, stepping beside Amelia. "This battle is hers, and she makes the choice. Not you." Amelia felt a rush of clarity. It wasn't just the battle of light and darkness, it was about identity, about standing in her truth. She turned to the crowd, searching their faces. "I can do this. But I need all of you to believe with me." A strange silence fell, the only sound the rustle of shadows and the quickening breaths of the gathered masses. Then, even amidst the growing darkness, she spotted sparks of hope in some of their eyes. "I understand now. We're bound by our choices, our resolve. You don't have to follow the shadows, you can break free." Her voice broke through uncertain whispers, rallying their spirits. The white-haired woman's laughter rang hollow, cutting through Amelia's resolve. "You think this is just about you? You're playing with forces you don't comprehend. Their thirst for control runs deeper." Amelia held her ground, the swell of energy within her intensifying. Whatever darkness you unleash, I will fight it. I will choose light. With an explosive surge, she lifted her hands, radiant energy pouring from her fingertips like molten gold, illuminating the crowd around her. Then, just as swiftly, the shadows lunged forward, a wave of darkness collapsing against her. Her heart stopped, and the light flickered, dimming with doubt. The two forces collided in a breathtaking flash, the air electrified with anticipation. Suddenly, she felt a tug. Someone grasped her wrist, anchoring her. It was James, his presence a source of calm. "We're with you, Amelia. We believe in you." Strength surged through her, combining their energy. But before she could command it all, the dark figure loomed closer, eyes shimmering with malice. "You think you're strong enough for this? It's only just begun." As her heart raced, Amelia realized this fight wouldn't just be against shadows but against something much greater, something she didn't yet understand. Would she truly harness this power, or was she stepping into an abyss deeper than she imagined? The clash of light and shadow sent tremors through the air, reverberating off the walls of the dimly lit space. Amelia felt her pulse quicken, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she held her ground. The radiant glow spilled from her fingertips, illuminating the faces studying her with cautious interest. "Keep that light strong," a voice called out from the crowd, muffled and distant. It came from a woman with fierce determination etched across her face. "We believe in you, Amelia." Encouraged, Amelia drew on their belief, channeling their collective energy. The white-haired woman beckoned the shadows closer, a malevolent smile twisting her features. "Fools! You truly believe she can withstand what's coming?" The dark tendrils crackled menacingly, swirling around Amelia like a predator stalking its prey. Doubt seeped into her mind, gnawing at her resolve. What if the stranger had misjudged her? What if she wasn't the key after all? "Fight it! Don't let them in!" The stranger shouted next to her, voice steady. Her grip tightened around the energy pouring forth. She couldn't let them down. In a heartbeat, the shadows surged forward, almost breathing. They entwined around her legs, yanking at her confidence like an urgent tide. Panic bubbled up, an icy knot forming in her chest. No. Not like this. She remembered what he had said, the power of belief, the light in their eyes. With a deep inhale, Amelia pushed against the weight of despair. "You're wrong!" she yelled, her voice loud, clear. "You can't hold me!" The shadows recoiled, hissing like feral animals. Light burst from her hands in a brilliant flash, illuminating every corner of the space. The crowd gasped, an intoxicating mix of awe and fear. But the white-haired woman shrieked in fury, her hands clawing through the air. "You will regret every choice you make!" Her voice rippled through the darkness like thunder, and something surged within the shadows, something darker and far more sinister. Amelia's heart raced as she pushed the uncertainty aside. "I don't regret this. I choose to fight." She called on the light again, its golden aura swirling stronger, brighter. With each pulse, she felt familiar faces joining her. James, the fierce woman, the crowd they were with her. Suddenly, the shadows lunged, an overwhelming wave crashing against her brilliance. The impact flung her to the ground, knocking the breath from her lungs. A cry caught in her throat as darkness enveloped her, blurring her vision. "Amelia!" James shouted, panic lacing his voice, but she couldn't respond. The moment stretched, pulled taut like a wire ready to snap. A flash of memories spun through her mind, illuminating her thoughts, fierce moments of courage, love, decisions that defined her being. "This is who I am," she whispered, the darkness pressing close, but even closer the light flickered insistently. With a surge of defiance, she rose once more, hands extended. Just as shadows threatened to suffocate her spirit, she found that light again. It roared to life, filling her with vibrant energy, radiating hope and courage. "Together!" she breathed, channeling the energy of those around her as they echoed her words in unison. In that wildfire momentum, the shadows began to convulse and twist, gripped by panic as they felt the mighty force of unity. But just as victory seemed within reach, the white-haired woman barked an incantation that sent a shudder through Amelia's body. You think this will end here? You have no idea what you've awoken. At her words, something cracked that remained hidden in the dark, an ancient power threatening to break free. Amelia sensed it ripple through the air, a lingering warning of what awaited them all. As the shadows shrieked in rebellion, something darker stirred within the void. And Amelia knew, with chilling realization, that they had only just begun this treacherous path. What new horrors awaited them just beyond the edge of light? The cacophony of shadows shrieked around Amelia, twisting in unnatural rhythms. She felt the pressure of their power, almost tangible, a weight pushing against her resolve. The white-haired woman, no longer the inviting figure, now radiated malice that threatened to consume everything Amelia believed she could stand against. Her voice, thick with rage, rang out, "You've awakened something beyond your understanding. It will consume you." As the shadows writhed and lunged, Amelia closed her eyes, grounding herself in the memories of warmth and love, laughter spilling into moments of despair. She drew from those feelings, feeling the light spark once more within her. "No," she whispered, determined to forge her destiny. This, she thought, was a battle not just of shadow but of faith. With a roar, Amelia shot her hands skyward, illuminating the night with golden streaks of brilliance. Light flooded the space, morphing into tangible tendrils that wrapped around the advancing darkness, holding it at bay. "Fight with me," she called, her voice surging with vigor. The crowd hesitated, their fears battling doubts. But one brave soul stepped forward, mirroring her stance. "Together!" shouted the woman from before, joining hands with Amelia's outstretched arms. The wave rippled outward. Others began to unite in that fierce energy, pooling their strength against the shadows. Faces lit up with hope, brightening with every heartbeat as their faith intertwined. The darkness jolted, recoiling under the overwhelming force of the collective. But the white-haired woman's fury lashed out again. "You are nothing. I will tear this apart," she screamed, unleashing an even darker enveloping shadow that clawed toward them with ravenous intent. Amelia fought against the despair clawing at her heart. "We have to believe we're stronger than this," she shouted, urging everyone to remember who they were beneath the weight of the shadows. "Together, we can rise." The light intensified, reflecting off their faces like a beacon of hope, a moment that rippled through the night like a thunderclap. As the combined force steadied, the shadows thrashed violently, twisting and tangling, struggling against the light. Racing thoughts surged through her mind. She focused on her breath, willing the energy around them to expand. It pulsed and thumped in harmony, a heartbeat she could feel in her chest. "Keep building. We can break through," Amelia shouted, refusing to yield to the darkness. The ground trembled, vibrating with power surging through Amelia's limbs. "A relic of the past will not overcome you," came the voice of the stranger again, now steady and strong. "You are worthy. Channel the truth you hold within." Suddenly, a flash erupted, an ancient script pulsating from within the shadows, revealing symbols Amelia barely recognized yet felt drawn to. Instinctively, she understood those markings. They were a bridge between worlds, a language of hope and despair, all hidden truths. It was then that hope ignited a profound realization: the shadows were not just an enemy. They were embodiments of every fear, pain, and uncertainty she'd ever held. And they were tethered to countless voices echoing through the crowd, those who trembled in fear but longed for freedom. Amelia seized upon that understanding. "No!" she bellowed, "you will not take us. We are stronger together." The brilliance swelled as she imagined the light enveloping not just the fear, but embracing the wreckage, transforming pain into strength. The shadows hissed, suddenly hesitant, as the overwhelming force began to fracture their hold. With one final surge, Amelia forged the energies of her companions into a single swift arc of light, dazzling and bright enough to illuminate the darkest depth. The wave crashed against the pooling shadows, and in that moment, as it exploded outward, everything shifted. Screams erupted, but Amelia didn't falter. Light poured forth, sweeping through the dark masses, scattering them like mist before dawn. "Join this fight. Unite with us," she urged. Before her eyes, the crowd rallied and embraced the truth of their combined strength, their fears washed away in the brilliance. In a flurry of dusky tendrils, the shadows twisted into retreat, scattering like leaves before a gale. The oppressive atmosphere dissipated, and silence fell a heavy weight lifting. The white-haired woman staggered back, her once formidable presence diminished, pure fury mapped on her face. "You will regret this. You cannot keep the shadows at bay forever." She spat, retreating into the depths of darkness, taking the remnants of despair with her. Amelia collapsed onto her knees, panting as if she fought a physical battle. But despite the weight of exhaustion, something within her glowed. The moment was not merely about triumph, it was a beginning one she would nurture. James knelt beside her, joy illuminating his face, and the crowd surged around them, a mixture of disbelief and exhilaration knitting them together once more. Faces once etched with fear were now filled with a newfound light. "You did it, Amelia!" he cried, pulling her close. Standing together, they faced the horizon as dawn broke, colors intertwining with the remnants of darkness. She felt the warmth radiate around her, not only from the sunlight but from the camaraderie against despair. In that moment, Amelia realized that the power of choice was a journey, never complete, always evolving. They'd made it this far, and she vowed to cherish the lessons learned, bound by their shared strength. And as they stepped forward, sunlight pouring over them, the world felt alive again with possibilities. They would tell stories of bravery, summon hope against the shadows that might linger, sharing their truths to embolden others. Amelia smiled as she broke into laughter, the kind of laugh that came from knowing she was not just a solitary figure, she was part of something vast. The lives intertwined, the bodies, the souls, the spirits, pushing against the dark. Bound by resilience, they marched forward, not as prisoners of fear but as warriors of light. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss a single moment of this journey. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and secure our reach. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful finale. Your support makes all the difference. Let us carry this together.